evening. On behalf of the Exchange Club of Hapeville, it gives me a great pleasure to welcome you tonight to the first of two political debates. The next one will be next Thursday at the Village Church, and I believe that starts at 7 p.m. Is that correct? 6? Okay. Same thing, meet and greet at 6, and the forum starts at 7. So the next forum will be next Thursday at the Village Church. The Exchange Club of Hapeville has been in operation since 1946. It is a community service-based club, but on a local and national level, one of our major focuses is youth and child abuse prevention. With the leadership of our current president, our major focus in Hapeville is youth in transition at the Hapeville Elementary School. This is a passion for our President Bill Whitlock, and I commend him for his hard work in that arena. On the other side of the coin, one of the main focuses of the Exchange Club is Americanism and citizenship, and the value of being a citizen of the United States of America. And that's one of the things we're here tonight to recognize are those who are willing to throw their hats into the ring to be our representatives on a local level. Having a representative form of government is a key factor and cornerstone of this nation. And your participation in the audience is just as important as their participation here at the table tonight. So I commend all of these candidates for their bravery. Having served as an elected official for 15 years, I can tell you it's not always a pleasure. It's a thankless job, but it's a job that needs to be done, and I commend these men and women who are willing to take a chance and do this job. I want to say a special thanks to the recreation staff, Todd Nichols, Wayne Stevens, and his crew, his entire staff. Ray Ray's over there. Thanks, Ray Ray. Ray Ray just had a baby, and a little boy, and I asked if he named it Ray Ray Ray, but thanks a lot. This is a fantastic venue, and we appreciate you coming out tonight. If you will, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, who will be delivered by Logan Whidbey, and then if you remain standing for the invocation to be given by Steve Lamb.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our most heavenly Father, we come before you tonight to ask you to help us during this forum so people can tell us what they would like to do and how they would like to improve our city. And we ask you to bring your help down to us so that we can make the right choice for the city and have the great council like we had all the time before. It's things we ask in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
First, I would like to introduce the candidates, starting down on the other end. For councilperson Ward 11 would be Diane Demick and H. Lou Valero. The councilperson at large, we have Peggy Bryden Hardy, Michael Randman, and Scott Whitaker. And then we have for position for Councilman Ward 1 is James Lovern and Joshua Powell.
Well, my name's Jimmy Lovern. I have been a lifetime resident of Hapeville. I went to elementary school at Josephine Wells and graduated from Hapeville High School. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Public and Urban Affairs from Georgia State University. I am currently the councilman for Ward 1. I have a wife. We've been married for 30 years last month. My daughter just graduated from Georgia State with a master's degree in education. She got married in May. My son is a senior there with a dual degree in marketing and in computer science. The one thing about the City Council of Hapeville is that we are a committee of people that get together and make decisions for the future of Hapeville. And I would like to thank those people that have helped with the council in the last 4 years. We are looking forward to the next 4 years. The next 2 years are going to be very important with the community theater coming in, and with Porsche coming in, we have a great opportunity in developing our downtown area. We have to be good stewards in how we develop that downtown area so that we keep Hapeville the small town feel that it is, but we expand our tax base so that we continue to do things and hopefully get some of the depleted houses residential again, and to help get some infill with our residents. We don't have a lot of place to develop more developments, but we can get some of the houses that are foreclosed on and some of them that are rental properties more single family owned, and that is something we need to work on going forward.
Good evening. Good evening. I'd like to thank the mayor for those kind words. I'd also like to thank the Exchange Club for having this for us tonight. I'd also like to thank you guys for being here on a Thursday night when you could be anywhere else. You could be watching TV on your couch, but you chose to be here because you're concerned citizens, just like the rest of us. I'd like to tell you a little bit about me. I'd like my wife, Emily, to stand up, please. Me and Emily have been together. Me and Emily have been together for 10 years. We met at Georgia College and State University. She was a marketing major, and I'm a special ed major. We moved to Hapeville in 2010. We moved to a house on Myrtle Street, where we fixed this house up, and we redid it ourselves. I am 100% set for my goals. I made a goal that I would run for city council, and I'm going for that 100%. There's nothing.
We're working on it.
There's nothing that I will not do to make my goals. I strive for these goals. Can you guys hear me like this? Okay, I'll talk. So, I strive for these goals. My wife, we've been married 5 weeks this week. So we just got married. But she's been behind me 100% for everything that I do. And that is amazing. Thank you, Emily, and I love you. Thank you, Emily, and I love you so much. With these goals that I set, I also want to set goals for the city with your help. By the time you leave here tonight, you will all have my personal cell phone number. And do not hesitate to call me. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. The exuberance of youth. I love it, Josh. You're awesome. I'm on the other end of that scale. Not quite so youthy, but maybe a little younger than my opponent. I'm not running as the younger candidate. My family moved to Hapeville in 1966 on the house in Northside Drive. We loved that house. I was a senior, Carol was a junior, my sister, and that's pretty traumatic, moving your senior year in high school, but this town embraced us. Now, in high school, they did call us the two Amazons from Florida, so we had to overcome that a bit, but I'm not bothered by being an Amazon. I have had an extensive career in finance, which is amazing to me. The year and a half I went to the University of Georgia. I studied journalism because you didn't have to have math to graduate. And I ended up as a banker for 28 years. I worked for Southern Airways in their revenue accounting for 3 years, Trust Company Bank in their factoring accounting for 3 years, and in the city of Hapeville in their finance area for 8 years. Currently, I'm the office manager for the Airport Area Chamber of Commerce, so I'm seeing a lot of y'all walking in and out going to the bank. I have heard from many of you issues that you have that you would like for me to address. I will do that whether I win the election or not. I believe that communication in all aspects of the city is hugely important. I think as citizens, as business owners, you should deserve a response to any inquiry you give to any person, city council, mayor, or employee of the city. That's one of the things that I will focus on is improving communications. Thank y'all for coming out, and I would appreciate your vote.
I'm Scott Whitaker. I was born in Hapeville in 1959. Spent most of my life here. Went to Joe Wells. Father took us out to follow a career with Ford out to DeKalb County, and that's the only time we were elsewhere. We were out there. Anyhow, let's see, what else? Goodness, I'm a computer repairman, a graphic designer. Wife Joy and I. Between us, we have, how many? 7 kids, 17 grandkids. We're both AARP members, Sierra Club members. Our home is a National Wildlife Reserve, and we believe in things like that. We believe Hapeville is going in a very good direction right now. Actually, I'm a current member of the Development Authority, as well as I was a member of Hapeville's Development Task Force, which was tasked with pulling together a series of strategic initiatives to basically pave the way and to help achieve goals of a vision statement for the year 2020. If you like some of the things you've seen recently, like community gardens, having Hapeville become an arts destination, like having our own little theater group here, these are all initiatives that are part of this study and part of this group. So if I was city council, I'd be not only in a position to help nurse these along, but also to vote on them. Thank you.
Good evening. As Diane says, yeah, everybody's younger than me, but don't worry about it. I work with the Exchange Club, and every year we have a 5K road race, and every year I come in first in my age group, and second, and third, and anyhow, good evening. My name is Lou Valero, and I am currently your councilman Ward 2. I have set my goal, as Josh, as to commit for 4 more years of service. And you have the chance to find out whether my goal is realistic or not, and tell me about it. There's some cards around the table that tells you a lot about me, what I do, all the stats. But tonight it tells you where I've been. But tonight I'd rather talk a little bit about where the city has been, what we've been doing, and a little bit about where we're at right now. About 2009. Our city finances finally turned a corner and started looking just a little bit better. But the economy was still in a real funk. People could not get loans to buy the nice houses we had sitting around here. And people that would want to do businesses, they didn't want to start a business anyplace. Hapeville, Atlanta, nothing. We couldn't do much about the funky economy, so we kind of turned our attention to the future. We decided that we would try to use our time and available funds to kind of lure people into the city and let them see what a nice place we have. We went out and we put signs at all the city entrances. We put gardens around the signs. We put signs in the neighborhoods and put gardens around the signs. So you knew when you came to Hapeville, and you knew when you got home what development you lived in. We had some streetscape projects that had been on hold for a long time, thanks to some federal government shovel-ready projects and some other money that we was able to scrape together. We finally got the streetscapes back on track. We got them finished. Virginia Avenue and Doug Davis is all finished up. We restored some old buildings like the Scout Hut, which is now a point of pride and interest, and hopefully some revenue. We got more. We'll talk about it later. Thanks.
Okay, we'll see how this goes. I'm probably the only person up here who didn't finish college. I quit Georgia State my junior year. I was going to be a school teacher, and I left and went to seminary, and I am now an ordained pastor. I'm a member of the Methodist Church in Hapeville, but I'm an ordained associate pastor at the Village Church. I've kind of gone a different course without a name tag or without a salary. Yes, I am involved with the cafe at the corner. I've been there for 22 years. I'm in charge of the finances, of meeting payroll obligations week after week for 22 years without fail. But also, I like developing things. I don't really need to start developing things. First, I developed the cafe at the corner 22 years ago. And then Maison La Vigne, the bed and breakfast, I did that after that. And then I helped place. I'm already down to 30 seconds. Oh, okay. And after that, what is now Back Alley Market, I was the one that headed up the creative team for that. And then after that, when the Village Church took the old car dealership, we tried to make that look presentable in the city. So I've done quite a few projects in the city. I'm also a self-sponsored missionary to Russia. I've been going there for 17 years. I taught myself to speak Russian. I've been there 15 times. Not as fluent as I'd like to be, but I can speak a little, but I'm not gonna. And also, just the things I do, I taught myself to play piano, and I am a composer. I write piano music and I write Christian music. So I try to combine my business experience, my development experience, my creative experience to be the best that I can be to help you with whatever we need to do. So development is not new to me. It's something I do. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Peggy Bryden Hardy. I'm married to Jeremy Hardy, and we have a beautiful daughter, Lily Grace, who just went out there. She's 9 months old. My parents are Sharon and Charlie Bryden. They both have lived and worked in Hapeville for the majority of my life. I graduated from Landmark Christian School. I then studied at Mercer University, where I received my bachelor's in education. After Mercer, I went on to receive my master's degree from the University of Alabama. I taught elementary and middle school in Henry County for 4 years, and most recently taught at Woodward Academy for 1 year. After I had my daughter in January, I decided that I would dedicate myself to being a stay-at-home mom. I am currently substitute teach at Woodward about 1 day a week, and I am also an assistant coach for the varsity girls swim team. I enjoy being able to be involved with the education of young children, but I'm so happy that I have the opportunity to stay at home with my daughter. I'm very fortunate that I was raised in Hapeville. It's so wonderful to have been raised in a small town. From the ages of 4 to 18, I played t-ball and softball for the city. I was a Girl Scout, sang in the church choir and the handbell choir at Hapeville First Baptist. As an adult, I'm still involved with many of those organizations today. I'm serving and have served on numerous boards at Hapeville First Baptist Church. I've also chaired 3 boards at Hapeville First Baptist. I love singing in the choir every Sunday. I help my husband coach baseball for the city and continue to be involved with and support Hapeville athletics. I'm currently a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution, the Colonial Dames, the Georgia Association of Teachers, the American Legion Auxiliary, and I'm a Fellowship of Christian Athletes sponsor, as well as the Calvary Refuge Center sponsor. I'm past secretary of the Hapeville Main Street Board and was involved on the promotions committee. I'm proud to say that I was a part of the beautiful butterfly project that you see throughout town. Thanks.
Without being invited, do you attend meetings of all neighborhood associations each year and seek input for the citizens who live there?
I have been to association meetings, but the one in my neighborhood meets on the night that I meet with the Sons of the American Legion. I am the junior vice and the chaplain there. I've been there for 17 years, so the first Monday of every month, I've been unable to attend ours. I think the neighborhood associations are great associations. I believe that they help the community in ways that the city cannot. When the city gets involved in a problem, it has to be a legal problem, or we have to have probable cause to go, where neighborhood associations have the opportunity of getting together and knowing their neighbors. They can get more involved with their neighbors than the city can legally, and I think they're great organizations.
Thank you. Josh, I'll give you, you have 1 minute to rebut or have a comment about it.
Okay.
That'll work.
We'll try this.
All right.
So,
If you hold it below the switch, it'll be much better. There
All
you go.
right. I like neighborhood associations. I'm actually the vice president of my neighborhood association, and I have gone out to all the neighborhood associations to talk to them about being a candidate and what I can do for them. I actually promise that I will be at the neighborhood associations at least once a quarter. That way I can get to know you guys, I know your concerns, and I know what issues you have. I actually just spoke at the Cofield Park Association meeting 2 nights ago, and it was very nice, and they have some great people over there that are very concerned about this city. Thank you.
I attend, when I go to a neighborhood association, I always try to attend the Northwoods Neighborhood Association, because that's the one in my neighborhood. And they're usually pretty interesting. We'll have a speaker of some sort, and you get to meet the people, and I guarantee you they're going to tell you exactly what they think and what they want you to do. Now, over the years, I've attended most all of the neighborhood associations at one time or another. We've met in churches, we've met in the Christ Church, we've met in the Catholic cafeteria, all kinds of places. And we do support the neighborhood association.
Diane, would you like to comment?
Yeah. Is that like this? Yes. As I mentioned earlier in the opening remarks, I think communications are at every level are very important. As your council member from Ward 2, I would also pledge to attend the neighborhood association. My own is Northwoods. I attend that one, not regularly, but I am very interested in what everyone thinks. I think that communications at that level as well as follow through. I think that if you ask me to look into something for you, I will do my darndest to find out about it and give you whatever the response I find back. That may not solve your problem, but it will at least offer you an avenue that we can go down together to see if we can solve it.
Property taxes are still down, and at this time, the city has a cash reserve of a little over $1 million. Do you feel it is or is not important that the city have a higher cash reserve, and why? So Peggy Bryden-Hardy goes first.
Honestly, I feel that we need a good cash reserve, but I cannot tell you exactly what that number should be. I enjoy learning, I enjoy reading, so if I'm elected, I will find out more information on a cash reserve and how much other cities like Hapeville have and how much we should have. To me, $1 million sounds like a lot, but I know in a city budget, that's probably not that much money. So again, that's something that I would like to research and ask questions about myself. Thank you.
The overall budget, $1 million, so $1 million is significant, but is it enough? I'm just going to be honest.
Well, we're very sorry.
That's okay. Proverbs 18:13 says, "Any man that answers something without knowing everything is a fool." So I wouldn't want to go too far on that, but obviously we need reserves. We have a government that's partially shut down right now. So a lot of grants and things we get, we don't know how far they're going to go. So we have to be wise with what we have. If you own a business, you look at what you have and you decide where your priorities are. That's what we have to learn. Becky, I say the same thing. I love to learn. And so we have to learn these things, but a cash reserve is necessary, of course, but also raising revenues, attracting businesses and other people to get homes built behind on the south side. All those things will affect our budget.
I believe our cash reserve right now is a little bit more than $1 million. It's more like 2.5, a little bit less than that. Yeah, we should have a cash reserve of about 4 months. And your budget is kind of complex. Your operating budget is about $11.5 million in round numbers. So you should have probably about $3.5 million in reserve. And we're working on it. It's not easy to do. Things come up, sewer lines break, things like that. Sometimes we have to get into our reserve, but we try to stay out of it as much as possible.
Currently, mayor and council are doing an extraordinary job. I know our police and fire departments are fully staffed and fully funded. Our sanitation, our parks, our recreation, all these and more, they're doing even after the loss of Ford and without having to raise the millage rates to the point where it's onerous. So as far as how much cash reserve, as long as they could balance it, as long as we can still do deals, as long as we can still pay the bills, enough is enough.
I would say that our budget, and I would wonder what the trend line is on either that 1 million or that 2.5 million, and it looks kind of up and down. But I think that's an important thing, is what percentage it is currently, what it has been, what the history has been, whether we have needed the sewer repairs or that kind of thing, and how we're doing with that. Are we repaired all the sewers? Probably not. Infrastructure is a problem everywhere. I think the savings account, if you will, is a very important thing. Maybe the course of last resort, but I think you definitely need to have one, and it should be the last resort to go into. So when you do balance your budget, I think a consideration would be to try to increase that up.
I think that the more money we have on reserves, the better it is, because we never know what's going to happen down the road. So we never saw this crash coming with the housing. No one saw it. The leading economics professors did not see it. My house, I run in the Dave Ramsey plan, so I keep 6 months in reserve because you never know what's going to happen. And I know that the city's not a house and not my household, but we need to make sure that we have enough in reserve that in case, God forbid, something happens, that we have the money there for us.
Well, I think that the goal of the city is to have a 4-month reserve or better. Unfortunately, with the way the economy has been, there has been times when we have had to use money out of our reserve to keep things running. We haven't furloughed anybody, we haven't laid anybody off. We are staying fully staffed with our city. We are keeping our services at the highest level. We are keeping all of our insurance programs funded. Our budget is very tight, but our budget has been within 10 or 11 million for the last 5 years. So we are not spiraling with our budget. We're staying very conservative in what we're doing, but we're trying to keep it conservative. We're also trying to put money back when we can, but when the opportunity comes to provide better services or better facilities and to upgrade what we have, then we need to spend that money wisely.
Will Hapeville be providing police and fire service to the Porsche site, which is in the city of Atlanta, and if so, at what cost would that be?
The development at Porsche was 132 acres. 52 of those acres Atlanta took back as the landing. And then Porsche is on 27 acres, which is partly Atlanta, partly Hapeville, and partly Clayton County. They also own 30 acres of property that is solely in Hapeville. And then the other 17 acres that are left, we're hoping that Jacoby is working hard to develop that, and we've heard some rumblings that they are. So we will have a presence in that area because there's a lot of that area in the city of Hapeville. But if we're going to be doing things in the Porsche property itself, I'm sure that we'll be working an agreement out with Porsche for our services. But the property over there is a conglomerate of properties, and a lot of it is in the city of Hapeville, so we would definitely want to protect our interests.
Currently, Porsche, 99% of it is outside of Atlanta. I believe that there's only a little strip of the test track that is actually inside Hapeville. I believe that if we do want to support them, it's up to you guys. I believe that if we do, we need to make sure that there's a monetary involvement, that they make sure they pay us for our services. We are not here for charity, and neither is Porsche. We're here to make money and provide for our citizens. And if we can make money by protecting Porsche, then that's more money in your pocket and better services for you. Thank you.
Believe it or not, our police department, fire department is for rent if anybody wants to rent them, and we'd still be negotiated with Porsche as to whether or not they want the services of our police department and our fire department, plus our water or sewer, whatever they might want, and we're open to a deal. If they're willing to pay for it and we can make a buck off of it, we will most likely service Porsche with all those services.
I agree that Porsche is a wonderful thing for our community. And the reason they want our fire and police is because they are the best. They have that 3-minute or less response time. They don't want to have to wait on City of Atlanta, which I do believe is the area that is covered there. Their actual area is the City of Atlanta jurisdiction. But they want ours. I believe if we make a contract, whatever it is, I think they would honor that. I think that they want us that bad. And so I think we accommodate them. It helps us, as long as it's not to the detriment of services to our community. We don't want them, and I can't imagine how many calls they'd have at an office building for 400 people. Now maybe if they're driving a Porsche around that track pretty fast, we might get a few calls, but I would definitely support having Porsche buy some services from us.
The question is, what changes do you think are needed in Hapeville?
That's it. What changes? I like our town. I think we have a very good community. I think citizen involvement is key. I'd like to know what changes you'd like to see in Hapeville. I would like to have more owner-occupied houses. I would like to have some more fabulous restaurants. I would like to have no ringing in the speaker. I would like to have more people moving into Hapeville. Of course, we call ourselves the best kept secret, and we don't want to tell everybody how great this place is, because then we'd have overcrowding and all of that. But wow, what fun to have that for a while, especially if that tax base goes up. Thank you.
Changes are a funny thing. As soon as you change something, you're going to have about 20 people out there saying, "Why did you change that?" But we've discussed, Scott and I was together on that same commission where we had the visions as to what we would like to see happen to Hapeville, and in the visions, what we would change is primarily along the railroad tracks. We would like to see the streetscape done. We'd like to see sidewalks put in. We'd like to see guards put up by the ditches that run alongside the railroad tracks so that people quit walking across them, because it's a big safety hazard. And it would just make the city much easier to travel through and much nicer to live in.
One thing that I can say is it's great to be up here with 6 other people that love Hapeville. And I think that's why we're all running. And so as far as changes, I just want things to keep moving in the right direction. I'm so excited that I live here. I'm so excited to raise my daughter here. And I think we're doing a great job. Obviously, there's room for improvement, but that's why I want to be a part of it. Hapeville's such a special place to live. You have the small town charm, and you're 10 minutes from Atlanta. So I just want to keep going with the downtown improvements. I really think that we are moving in the right direction. I do hope that we can continue with the streetscapes and move it into the neighborhoods. Again, with Diane, I would love to see more owner occupancy and encourage, owners here. But I think that as long as we just keep things moving in the right direction and keep looking forward, we just have a wonderful place to live, and it can always get better.
I don't think we should reinvent the wheel. There are a lot of things going well. And so change for change's sake, to me, is stupid. But I think that we always have to reevaluate and rethink things. As I talk to people, there's a large group of people that are thrilled with the direction we're going and all these things, but there's also a large group, whether we want to admit it or not, that aren't happy with things. So I think that communication is what I'd like to change. I wish there was a way, besides say, well, come to council. That they should, all should. But there needs to be a forum that's not just a complaint, I could use another word, session, but a way that we can communicate things that are, but also what we need. Right direction is defined by what? I want to be sure that we're growing in every direction, not just downtown, but also our schools need consideration.
Big general question, several answers, of course. As far as change, commercial corridors, we need to improve them. Accessibility in Hapeville, particularly handicapped accessibility, could be made better. Business in Hapeville, recruitment, retention. We've done it without a plan in the past. We have a plan now. Education, our schools need to be marketed. We need to improve elementary schools, perhaps look at a magnet program, perhaps look at a charter arts school in Hapeville for the future. Neighborhoods, many good things going on already. We need to have pocket parks, wayfinding signs, perhaps a dog park. I've heard that spoken about. Many other things we can improve there. But the biggest single thing we can improve with Hapeville is to continue with making it an arts destination. We have to reach a critical mass downtown of arts-related activities, and then it will be self-sustaining. Then there'll be a secondary wave of growth and development. This is the vision.
I liked a lot of what you said. I think that the arts program that we have cultivated in the city, the Norton Arts Center, and now with the Academy Theater coming in, is something that is going to make Hapeville more of a destination. So we need to have infill in some of the businesses downtown that can cater to the evening crowd that's going to be coming into our theaters. I would like to see that the entranceways to each side of our city become more of a beautification First impressions, you only get one chance to make those. Virginia Avenue is now gorgeous. We have some street shape plans coming up, but when you pull off of 85 and Mark Inn is there and in-town suites, that's the first impression people give the city of Hapeville. So it would be nice to be able to, we're working with a tax district that we can start getting the beautification started on the entranceways coming into our city so that we can change the first impressions that we give people coming in.
I think we need to change the perception of this city. I grew up in North Atlanta, and people where I grew up have no idea where Hapeville is. They think it's way down there near Noonan. They have no idea that we're inside the perimeter, that we have 85, 75, 285, and 20 is right down the road. That is what we need to let people know. They think that because we live next to the airport, that their planes fly overhead. They have no idea that the flight path is east-west and we're north. We need to let people know that we're here. We need to let people know that you can know your mayor, you can know your councilman, you can know your neighbors. And we need to keep that community feel, because that's what brought me here, and that's probably what brought a lot of you here. And we just need to keep that going and just keep that progress. Thank you.
The first question we're going to get is put someone on the spot, and there'll be a rebuttal. And that question is going to Jimmy Lovern. Your campaign slogan is, quote, proven leader, unquote. What specifically have you single-handedly spearheaded on your 4 years on council to make you a proven leader?
All right.
This is coming from the audience now. I didn't do that.
I understand. Well, most of the projects that the council has accomplished over the 4 years have been done as a group. Now, when we get behind closed doors, we have a lot of and we talk things over quite frankly and plainly. But the thing about this council that I am most proud of is, unlike some other councils and unlike some cities around us, when we walk out into that council room, we're one. We stand up there as a group, and even though it might be 3-2, and you're the one who's pushing the hardest against it, when you walk out there, the council has said, this is what's going to happen. And so we stand up and we say, as one, I'm supporting this group because we are one. So, you know, I think being a team and supporting each other and coming up and coming out as one and not being individuals is what makes Hapeville one of the things that I'm most proud of, and we're not the other cities around us.
In 2006, I actually been volunteering for Special Olympics for over 20 years. In 2006, I had the opportunity to take 8 athletes to Ames, Iowa for the National Special Olympics. I did this by myself. I was 21 years old, and I was actually the youngest person to ever be a head coach for National Special Olympics. Also, as a teacher, I spearheaded collecting over 3,000 books at I took to Moore, Oklahoma, single-handedly, and I helped with the cleanup effort for that F5 tornado that devastated Moore, Oklahoma.
We need a small business-friendly council. What will you do to help change policy so that it encourages and supports the marketing efforts of businesses that exist to help them sustain and grow their businesses?
Okay. Part of what well, I won't say I have a platform, but part of my thinking as I've gone through this process and I've come, and as I've asked people and businesses if I might put a sign in their yard, I have been asked several different things involving code enforcement. And I see that as a big opportunity for us. I spoke to a company who said for 20 years we've sold our propane gas outside of our business, and now all of a sudden they're telling us we can't do it. For 20 years this company has done that, and So I think there's ways that we can communicate with code enforcement. I think it's an important part, but I don't want to stress out new businesses. There is a new business that the owners bought homes here, and they are trying to do business, but they are receiving citations from code enforcement because their banners are wrong. So I see more that I would like to do with communication.
Go out on a limb here and say that we are already a small business friendly council. We have committees like Main Street. Becky was the secretary on, I believe, for a while, that do nothing. One of their biggest fields is to go to the small business people and say, what do you want? And maybe they'll take them a cup and a pen or a t-shirt or something, say, welcome to Hapeville, and they will organize it, and usually most of the council people show up on their grand openings. We have there's actually a fund that the money was donated by Fulton County, but it's a $50,000 small loan fund that small businesses can participate in. Most of them don't plan to do that. We have the fund where people can actually repaint their business, run by the Development Authority. So anything we can do to help the businesses, get them interested, we do it. We're already friendly. And I got the red flag.
Yes, I, as a part of Main Street, was involved with our downtown businesses in particular, and our other businesses, our small businesses. And I love shopping local. You want to shop local. I mean, I walk Lily, and yes, I go over the railroad tracks with the stroller, but we walked to Slideways in Cartini yesterday, and it's great. I love being in Hapeville and being able to go to a wonderful shop and go to a wonderful place for lunch and a wonderful place for dinner. There are different grants and things that you can get to promote small businesses, and Main Street is fabulous at helping our small businesses attain some things that they do need. I do feel like we are a small business friendly town. Maybe we can help more with advertising and bringing people in. I hope that the Academy Theater does bring more patrons, especially in the nighttime, and I do hope that we will get more restaurants in the area so we have other options instead of at night having to go to East Point or somewhere else to eat.
I think less restaurants is fine with me. No. We need more restaurants, that's for sure. I know we have to have code enforcement. I know we have sign restrictions and things, but I think sometimes you have to just add heart and reason. When I go by Cartini, I can barely see their sign, and yet it's within code now, but it maybe should be bigger. It's not near as big as Sombreros, that's for sure, but they need a big one too. These are setback businesses. So I think you have to look at every business with fresh eyes, look at what the laws are, try to apply them, but be willing to do exceptions that make sense. If that's against the law, then maybe we should change the law. But I think everything should have heart and reason and common sense in it. I think that highlighting the businesses in the water bill newsletter has been great, and I think that we can continue those things. There's a lot of things. Thank you.
There are indeed many things we can do to help businesses in Hapeville, beginning with we could reintroduce the facade grant program, which was successful in helping many businesses spruce up their appearance. There are business loans, low interest, that can be done as a pass-through through Development Authority. A lot of people don't know about these, but this would help business. There are many things we can do to market business, like distribution of a quarterly newsletter for businesses in Hapeville. How about periodic updating of the Doing Business in Hapeville brochures? Active involvement with the Airport Area Chamber of Commerce. Active involvement in all regional business initiatives. All these and many more things, but dialogue and communication, find out what the businesses are looking for. Other things along the lines of, as far as new business goes, we need to make sure we have an educated workforce. So there, dialogue, communication, that's the key.
Well, the council in the city of Hapeville does a few things. We had a small business meet and greet for the Tri-Cities area last week, hosted by Hapeville. They do that, I believe, quarterly. We also pay yearly for advertisement in the Guide magazine that goes to the airport, goes to every hotel, It has a link that when you take your picture with your cell phone, it brings up a nice little video of the city. It is something that goes, probably we get more bang for our buck out of that one advertising tool than anywhere else, but also putting a link to the website would be something that would help. I know the Academy Theater is talking about doing that, and I think we should have one for the small businesses also.
I think open communication is one of the biggest things that we need to have. We need to be able to go down there to these businesses as councilmen and talk to them and ask them what their concerns are. We know where they are. They don't know where we are all the time. I've actually been walking to businesses, asking them what issues have they had, any complaints, what good things have happened. Let me know. I'm here for you guys. One of the things that someone told me was that we need to have stuff in plain English. These people opening businesses, they don't have law degrees, so they should not be written in legalese. Maybe we could have the legalese, and then we could on the other side have plain English so people can understand. I want to make sure that everybody has a right and a chance to have a business here. Thank you.
How important do you feel it is for elected officials to volunteer for city events and functions as well as to attend them?
Norton Arts Center. I am the president of our neighborhood association. All the proceeds that we make are given to the Norton Arts Center. I think that's very important. Also, I've built the Five Senses Garden. The Five Senses Garden. I volunteered there to help with my time. I've actually bought a plot there too, so I can help the community, so I can show people what we can grow and what we can do here. Also, I think that we need more information out there for volunteer things that we can do. Paint the Town was a great thing that we did. Thank you.
Well, I think being a part of the community, not only as an elected official, but just as somebody who lives here, you'd want to be involved in the things, the concerts in the park, the movie series that we've been lucky enough to have for 4 or 5 years, our youth programs. I've been a youth baseball coach for over 20 years. I've coached 4 or 5 different sports out of this building. That's just part of what it keeps me feeling young. I'm not young, but it keeps me feeling that way. But there's a lot of things that go on in the city of Hapeville, and when people come to the council meeting, they're usually coming there for a purpose. They're not there just to see what's going on. They're there to tell you something. But when you go out and you meet people at the concert in the park, or you meet them at a youth sports, you can have conversations with people and you hear things that people are happy about. And it's things that we need to continue. They'll tell you what they're not happy about, but at the same time, you get a different feel for people, and people are a little more honest with you when they're not on guard or so defensive.
But volunteerism and the civic organizations, the community organizations, these are key. In fact, you can't accomplish much of the growth and the new directions that you'd like to see in a city without the cooperation and, in fact, the backing, and a lot of times the entire taking over and running of by civic and community organizations. So you have to pick your battles, and one of the battles that Joy and I have picked is Hapeville Citizens on Patrol. So we're involved with the group there that's dedicated. Everyone in Hapeville can join. Everyone can take the class. It's just a short class. You can learn about the police department, everything they do here, find out how you can be involved to make your home safer. For instance, keep the porch lights on at night.
I'm probably too honest for this position. I'm sure all of these people have done more with community service and the clubs and leagues than I have. There's no doubt about it. I devoted myself, whatever I do, I get addicted to, and I pour myself into it. After 17 years of doing that in Russia, I realize it's too hard to get into there now. I'm too old to go there now, and they come here, which some of them will be here in December. So that's what I talked about with Alan one day, is I don't want to sit on the outside of things. I want to get involved here at home. Can I claim that I've done these things? No, but I've certainly been busy developing things in Hapeville and involved with things, but not from a club perspective. But I do agree it's important, and obviously I've started changing that now that I'm moving in this direction of devoting myself more to the city of Hapeville. Thank you.
Well, I can definitely say that I got started young volunteering in Hapeville. Some of you know my mom, Sharon, and my Meemaw, Dora, and they're very involved in the city and have always taught me to serve others. And that's what I want to do. I want to be a servant leader among my peers and among the other residents in the town. I started young with that trash day. I used to love those clean and beautiful days. I'm very involved in the Baptist Church, which I was on the board that brought Family Life Ministries to Hapeville. I don't know, that's a great program if you don't know about Family Life Ministries. I volunteer at Calvary Refuge once a quarter to feed the homeless, and I really enjoy that. I've been a youth coach for 6 years, and I absolutely love coaching. I love Hapeville Athletics, and I try to support it. My friends and I always make Facebook invites, and we have the concerts and the chili cook-off, and that's always something that when we get the newsletter, we plan to be at. The movie nights, the last film festival I went to was awesome. So being involved in a small town, it just makes you happy, it makes you feel good.
As an elected official, it's very important that you at least be seen at all these functions, whether it's a Friday night concert at the park or rock busting at Moreland Way Park or whatever it is, because people want to talk to you. And quite often I'm the genius talking to me and say, where are you going now? I can't even begin to tell you how many things we've been to. But it is important to all elected officials. It's very hard for some elected officials. Jimmy works an 8-hour day. He does a 3-hour drive getting out there and getting back. Alan, you never know where he's going to be. He does his stuff by the telephone. Richard, I never know where he's going to be. So it's hard for some of them to get there. But it is very important that any elected official should be at least seen. You might not be doing anything but listening, but be seen at the function.
I think Lou summed it up. I think the being seen is very important. I know when I go to the activities, I'm very happy to see all of the elected officials there. I usually don't have very much to bend their ear about. Oh, Josh, did you say you bought pot at the Garden of the Five Senses? That caught my attention. Was it a pot?
A plot.
A plot. Oh,
Plot.
Sorry.
A plot.
A plot,
Not a pot.
All right. Just wanted to
Sorry. Thank you for correcting me. We don't want any misunderstandings.
But volunteerism, I have some organizations that I'm a part of. I usually, when an opportunity presents itself, I will participate as a volunteer. My family might agree that I have a hard time saying no, but I would not buy pot at the Garden of the Five Senses.
I understand we owe the city of Atlanta a very large water bill. What do you think we should do to pay this debt, and do you think this makes us vulnerable to the city of Atlanta?
In the finance area at the city, this debt has been on the books for a while, and I believe the mayor and council have negotiated it down from a huge amount down to, $3 million doesn't sound reasonable, but it was, I think, one of those legalese documents that the city read it one way, the city of Atlanta read it another way, and so the lawyers have been involved all of these, I won't say decades, but it might be close. I think, I don't know if all of the negotiating is done, and we can't go any lower. I would wonder if they would take partial payments, because it's a lot to come out of one annual budget.
This should have been a question for the incumbents, but it was for decades. Decades ago, whoever the council was at that time signed some contracts with the city of Atlanta. The city of Atlanta, of course, never bothered to read the contracts and just sent us bills as they saw fit. And we was up into many, many millions of dollars. And we had negotiated it down with some help from some engineering firms and some other people, Alan, our attorney. And the way we're going to pay it is we're going to borrow the money at the cheapest possible rate and pay Atlanta and get them off our back and go on about our business and work at paying it off. That's the only way you can pay it. It's like I'm going to guess at the number now because I'm not sure what it is, but it's $3-4 million that we have to get to pay off the city of Atlanta. And it's a 20-something year debt, and it came down from some $20 million.
Well, all I can say is what I've heard from being present at council meetings, which is basically just repeating what Lou just told you. It was a big debt that was acquired over numerous years, and the current council, which I will say is doing a fabulous job. They all get along. They're working the debt down, and I think they're being very fiscally responsible in trying to find the best way to make a payment as far as bonds or whatever they see fit. So I think they're doing a great job. Obviously, it's something that you can research, and I myself would research to find out, are we doing, are we going about this the best way? Is this the best way for us to handle this situation? And more importantly, how do we not get into this type of situation with the city of Atlanta again?
There's not much I can add to that. I mean, they're covering it very well. I do know that Hapeville sits on a water source, so if we really want to get creative, we can start digging. But in terms of paying off the debt, all you can do is look at what you have and what you can rearrange and what you can arrange with the city of Atlanta. But I don't like hearing things like, they're going to take us over. I've been hearing that for 30, 40 years, maybe 50. And, when board plant leaves, they're taking over. It just doesn't seem to be happening. We seem to be managing things well. And so I have no complaints with what they're doing with their resources.
The amount of debt we owe to Atlanta is not even really the issue. As long as anyone else controls the source of your water, you are vulnerable to them, period. I've always felt that the day we took down our source of water, our water tank there near the library, was a sad, sad day. If I could reverse that, I would do it. If there's any possibility of doing that in the future, I will look into it.
We obviously don't have water treatment plants in the city of Hapeville. We don't have the source of water, so we have to buy water from the city of Atlanta. Over a number of years, 15 or 20, the infrastructure improvements and bills that we got sporadically started out being around $17 or $18 million. They said we owed them. Through negotiations, it's gotten down to around $3. And according to the lawyers, that's probably going to be the best deal that we get. We do owe the debt, so a bond issue is probably going to be the best and most stable way for the city to pay off that debt. But as long as Atlanta controls the water, we've got to pay them money. We just got to be good stewards over the water that the city's responsible for.
I think we need to have open communication with the city of Atlanta. They are our neighbors. I know it's not like this where you can know your councilman by name and we know everybody out there. It's a little bit different. But we need to make sure we know who is the councilman or woman that is next to us. Make sure that they're involved with us because they are our neighbors. So we also need to make sure that, I believe in Dave Ramsey, I've already brought this up. We need to take the baby steps to get this debt down. We don't need to pay it all at once. If we can take baby steps and slowly pay it down and have Atlanta still be happy, then that's the way I would love to do it.
The city retirement fund can be a big liability. What will you do to ensure the fund is properly funded, invested, and managed?
Pensions are a big issue. There are many cities that have gone bankrupt because of pensions and pension liabilities. And I want to make sure that that does not happen to our city. We need to make sure that we have enough to cover those unfunded liabilities when the market fluctuates, and we can still pay that debt that we owe. I do not know 100% about pensions, but when I get in and I have all the information, I will do my research. Once again, I am a school teacher, so I do have time and study skills that I've learned and I teach every day that I can help and get to know this better.
Well, the city has taken some steps with our pension program. One of the things that we have talked to Clark about is to find a point when the interest rates get to a point that we can borrow the money and have it in a fund that will perpetually support the people that we have that are still on a pension. Our pensions are pretty much static right now because we've changed over to a 401k process with the current employees. So the people who are retired, we have some people that are still working that will go into the retirement plan because the people who are hired under that plan will continue on. But our pension debt is something that we have to keep an eye on, and if we can get to a point where we can perpetually fund that through one fund, that's what we need to do.
Best thing about working with a team group like Hapeville is that not everyone has to be a professional at everything. We do have competent people on staff to handle this thing and to make sure the funding is taken care of. So the key to, as far as making sure the funding continues is to keep competent personnel on board.
I agree 100%. I mean, we pay a lot of money out for people to run these things, and if they're not doing the job, then we replace them. It's very simple, but a lot of things are being done well. So once again, we don't need to just go replacing the wheel. We just need to examine it and look at it. But we have people that specialize in these things, and that's what they should be giving us information, that they know about investments, and we need to rely on them because we can't all be scholars in every area. So if we're going to manage, then we have to have a team of qualified people.
I just want to say that you definitely need to take care of your employees. Our employees are wonderful. Our retirees are wonderful. So I know that we do have people doing their job who look into what's the best possible way for us to meet our pension plans and meet our retirees and keep them happy and give them what was promised to them. I think with the market fluctuating so much, obviously you have to look at current times and you have to be smart. And like these guys have said, we have competent people on staff. We have a council that works together, that gets along, that has open communication. So when there are questions that arise, they can talk through things and they can bring different opinions and offers to the table so we can find the best possible answer.
It was, I believe back 2008, 2009, that our retirement fund was with Georgia Municipal Association, and we weren't getting very good service out of it. And I started asking around about it, and along with the councilman Joe Cranford Hodges, I believe that's her last name now. Where I saw the Cranfords here someplace. We moved that thing. We took it over to Mass Mutual, and we did a bunch of changes to it so that it will perpetuate. And I've been told that the thing to do with your money is to hire a lawyer, an accountant, a CPA. The accountant watches the lawyer watches the CPA, and then the CPA turns around and watches it. And that's what we've done. We've got somebody that's watching it that does a very good job.
Well, I do know a little about this. I was in the bond and money market area at the bank for 28 years, and I was a city employee during that conversion. I think my main concern is it is a huge liability. It needs to be funded. And my concern is we've had the same company, Mass Mutual, for those 6 years. Y'all may be familiar with the City of Atlanta's pension funds and the Fulton County who have various problems now from their investment advisors. I think it is a very concerning to have a third-party audit, at least every 2 or 3 years, to see that Mass Mutual is doing their job. There was an old adage in the bond business, and the story would go, how can you tell when a bond salesman is lying to you? Y'all know? It's when his lips are moving. So if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. You have to watch this. And I would watch this like hawk.
What are the plans for economic development that will bring real growth to the downtown area for the residents and businesses? And then the second part of it is, do you have a plan that can realistically be executed that is opposite of what seems to be a current plan that does not support growth? So I would say, in all due respect to the person who asked the question, that if you answer the first part of that, you should be answering the question, which is, what are the plans for economic development that will bring real growth to the downtown area for the residents and businesses?
Okay, we'll try that. Economic development. I think that is a huge part of where the city is going and where it should focus. I don't know what the plan is. I haven't been on the economic development. Well, I don't even know if we have a committee. I know we did have an excellent contracted economic development director who was responsible for a lot of the restaurants we have, Volare, the Drip, and the Slideways. And I do believe it is paramount to have a full-time person committed to that. And we want growth, but not at the expense of losing our hometown feel. We want the businesses here to want to be here, and we will support them.
Economic development is an ongoing thing. Just as soon as we make a plan, we had a big plan for a little boutique hotel over here in Dearborn Plaza. And it's never come about because we never could find anybody that wanted to build a hotel over there. We don't build hotels. We don't manufacture things. We just encourage people to come in. We give them breaks. We do whatever it takes. We did have somebody that Diane mentioned that was out searching for things. He has some grocery stores, some restaurants, and things like that in place. But we do what we have to do to get economic development going. We've got some restaurants. We've got the Academy Theater coming in, which we hope is going to light up Hapeville and build up the downtown.
I feel like economic development is so important right now, and there are people that specialize in that area, and the person that we had did a wonderful job in putting together goals and initiatives for the city. The thing about having a plan is how to initiate it, and I think if you take small, intelligent steps towards initiating an economic development plan, then you'll succeed. If we make sure that the businesses that we're bringing in are quality businesses with people that are committed to Hapeville, committed to bringing in good merchandise or a good restaurant and big hearts, that's really what you need. You need people who are going to do the right thing. I feel like we need to continue with our streetscapes, because if we have beautiful streets, then maybe someone would want to rent or buy a building and put their business in there. I feel like it needs to continue through the neighborhoods. We really need to encourage owner occupancy. Economic development is so important, and I feel like that is really the next big step for Hapeville, is to make smart and very intelligent steps towards the right direction.
I'll go out on a limb because I believe in it. But to me, the person that has spearheaded so much of what we see is David Byrd. And he's laid out a plan. I know it's not approved by council, but I don't think that they're against it. And certainly, even if they have to edit it, there's much we can learn from it. From what I've seen in it, it just makes sense. My only concern, though, is sometimes I hear so much about downtown development or all these things, but I wonder how much people that live out in the different areas and streets, they want to see those things, but I think we have to have unilateral growth. Because we can have a beautiful city, but if it's not safe, so what? We have to continue hitting all fronts if we're going to grow. Downtown development, I've been involved with it in my own way for years. Of course we have to continue that, and we have to really support the businesses that are here. We've only got so many buildings. We got to fill the ones that are here with good businesses that we think will help us.
I am on Development Authority, and I did serve on the Economic Development Task Force, and as one of the co-authors of the vision statement and the group of strategic initiatives, let me just read briefly from it. Across the United States, various communities have recognized that the arts can be a very powerful economic development tool. When galleries, studios, theaters, and art centers form a critical mass in a community, the result is an area that becomes a strong draw for the general public. Typically, these arts-centered communities then draw restaurants and boutiques in a second wave of development. When located in a large metropolitan area, arts-related activities often become a magnet for the creative class of workers, and then creative firms such as graphic design, web design, advertising, and architecture begin to settle in the area. It's a well-thought-out plan.
Well, I think one of the tools that we have available to us is the Development Authority. I believe that we are very much property rich with our Development Authority, and we have some smart people on that board, and I think getting creative with some of the properties that we already own and building from within and partnering with some people coming into the city is a smart way to go. We need to have growth in the city, but we don't want to have willy-nilly growth. We want to have growth that works well within the city and complements what's already here. I think when the theater comes in and that will help the lorry, it will help the places that are staying and open in the evening. I think it's also a time that we can attract some other businesses around that theater that will stay open at night and give us options within our own city limits.
I think it talks about coming with perception. I've already spoken about perception, but you could have an amazing downtown, and if no one knows about it and no one knows we're here, then no one's going to come. We need to let people know that we're here, we're Hapeville, we are very safe, we have our own police force, we have our own fire, we have all our own city services, and you can know everybody in your city. This is what we need to let people know, to get them to come down from North Atlanta, to get them to come from everywhere else in Atlanta, to let them know that we're here, so they can spend their money here, and eventually so they can buy a house here, raise a family, and have kids. Also, we need to talk about our schools. I think that we should have an international baccalaureate. It's called an IB program. My school is actually going for one right now, and it increases the student success, and we're having lots of parents moving into our school from all around DeKalb just to go to this school, and we haven't even gotten it yet.
In 2006, when the city raised the tax rate to the highest in Fulton County, the promise was to lower it as soon as possible. Do you plan to try to honor this promise if elected?
I think all of us want to see a lower tax rate. You do? I'm sure. But what we need to do is we need to make sure that we still have the income coming in. So what we do is we have to raise the value of these houses. Some of these are just getting rid of those vacant landlords, these blighted homes, these downtown that's sitting empty since I've actually lived here. We need to do something about this. Once we do that, the values go up. Once the values go up, we'll make more money, and then we'll be able to lower those tax values for you. We can't lower it without having higher property values for our house. We just need to get some more businesses in here that pay taxes. Once again, economic development, they pay a lot of tax, and they will help us give you more services and better services.
Well, the council before I got on had to raise the rate because we lost all the money from Ford. We can get our tax rate back to the exact same rate we had when Ford was here. Not a problem. What do you want to give up? City trash pickup? Sweeping the streets every day? What we have is the best services, I believe, in the state. The money that we collect right now pays for those services. So if we want to keep the services, if we want to keep the type of services and keep the city the way it is now, we have to keep the tax rate the way it is now until we generate more income, until we get new businesses come in, until we have something that comes to raise the rate. But until we get to a point, I mean, if you look around us, people are laying people off. East Point closed 9 fire stations. We haven't furloughed anybody, we haven't laid anybody off, but we're also having to work at a very skimp budget. So the tax rate is what it is so that we can keep the services that we have now. Unless we want to give up services, we're going to have to keep the tax rate where it is.
Nothing unique to add to that, because absolutely right. We have to rebuild, get our commercial tax base back up to replace what we lost with Ford when they left. And at that point, I think that we would be in a good position to make good on the honor, the pledge to roll back the millage rate. Hopefully it'll happen in the next 4 years. We'll see.
I'm sure we all watch the news and we know that every government, every school system is under problems, and you hear schools that close and people complain, how can you close our school? Because there's no money. The federal government has a way of spending money they don't have, but we don't. We don't operate that way. So it's very simple. It's like Jimmy was saying. There's only so much we have until we increase the tax base by doing all these economic development, all these different things we talked about, making filling the empty spots that you see. There's a lot of vacant land in parts of Hapeville, but that's going to take time. But in the meantime, we work within a budget. We're real, and we have to make sacrifices and determine what is our priority. Right now, I think we're hitting on them.
Well, so far I've agreed with what all four of these men have said. You can't make a promise to lower something. I wouldn't make that promise to lower the rate because I love the services that we have. I love knowing that if my 9-month-old is sick, the ambulance, the police department, they're going to be at my house in under 2 minutes. And I don't know where else I could go to possibly have that service and have that guarantee. I also know that when my husband cuts the grass or cuts trees down, it's picked up within 24 hours. And I can't say that that's done at my friends' houses who live in Buckhead and Ansley Park and other places. I think that for the services that we have, we should be very, very grateful that we can keep all of those, and we haven't raised the rate again. Hopefully when Porsche comes in, we can recoup some of the losses that we felt when Ford left. But until then, I honestly wouldn't change anything. I think that keeping it the way it is to keep our services that we all love, I think that's the way it needs to be.
Lou. Yes, taxes, that's a nasty old word. But when we compare millage rate for the city of Hapeville to millage rate for the other cities around the city of Hapeville, you have to ask yourself, what's a mill worth? In the city of Hapeville, a mill's worth something like $225,000 a year. Don't hold me to that number, but that's a good example. It's pretty close. Where maybe in College Park or East Point or the city of Atlanta, a mill is worth more like $2 million a year. So that's why the millage rate is higher. But when we had a town hall meeting, when right after Ford left, and a number of people stood up and said, whatever you do, no, don't cut my services, raise my taxes. We said, hey, that's a great idea, and we did. We'll get them back, though, as soon as we can.
My property value on my home went down about 300% from 2008 to last year. The millage rate stayed the same, so the income to the city was also down, as each of us knew when we paid our taxes. This year, I never thought I'd say I'm glad I'm paying more tax, but finally my assessment was a little bit higher. And it's all about, as these folks have said, balancing the budget. We love what we have here, and we have to pay for it. And the main thing you want to do is evaluate it each year. The millage rate is just a number. And if somebody wants to say, oh, Hapeville has the highest one in the county, we'll say, well, we'll put our services up to yours any day. So it's just balancing the budget and evaluating it each year when the tax digest comes in.
Well, thank you. This wasn't as scary as I thought it might be. So I'm glad you guys all came, and I'm excited to see that you're excited about this election. There's 7 of us and 3 spots. And after hearing everyone talk tonight, I think we're going to have a great council, either way it goes. Like I said before, I'm a lifelong learner. I'm excited to learn. I'm excited to meet new people. I'm excited to be a part of government. It excites me. It thrills me, and I'm ready for it. I love the city. I want to be a servant leader. I want to be available to citizens. I want to be there to meet the needs of citizens. I will encourage quality growth and development throughout the city, not just downtown, but throughout the city. Definitely, especially in the neighborhoods. As a homeowner, you guys know that we need more focus in our neighborhoods. Hapeville's my home. I'm proud that I'm going to raise my daughter here. I hope she can have all the wonderful experiences that I had as being raised here. It's great to be raised in a city that has such a big heart, and you can see that from everyone that's here tonight and everyone who's up here. I'm honored to have the opportunity to follow in the footsteps of some of my family, some of my friends. So it would be an honor to me to be a part of this council. I know that I can make a difference, and I know that I would have fun doing it. There's so many people that have been a positive influence on my life, and that's my goal, is that I can positively influence the life of the residents in my family here.
It's sort of obvious that all I can give is what I am. When I look back over the last years, I was the first director of the Atlanta Exposition Center where the Scott Antique Show is. Don Scott hired me to transform the old Ridgeway into the Exposition Center. My next project was Cafe at the corner. After that, Maison Lavinia. After that, Back Alley Market. After that, Village Church. I don't have a name tag or a salary for those things except at the cafe. That's what I do. That's where my passion is. So all I have to offer is some business experience. Not that others don't have it, but I know we lost 30 to 40% of our business after 9/11. And I have gone through periods of time where I got paid about 60% of my checks 2 years ago, but my employees got every check. As a business owner, you have to make sacrifices. They're not going to work for free, even though I did. So I worked other jobs to make it happen. I know people think we're rich because we're busy. Well, you're far from wrong. Right on that. I mean, it's been very difficult. It's still difficult. If you own a business, you know what I'm talking about. So I like to look at it from a business perspective, but also the development I've done is not something I want to start doing. It's something I want to continue doing. And then also, I think being creative. People talk about thinking outside of the box. I didn't even know there was a box. You know, I write music, I start with nothing, and I end up with something. Is it that good? You'd have to decide. But I have a creative mind, and I like to think that there's more solutions than just one. And so I like to evaluate what we're doing, not from a critical point, but just, is this the best? Okay, I'm behind. So I think we need to have a fresh perspective on things, and I offer that. So I offer what I am. If that's what you need and you want from me, I'll give you 100%. If I weren't elected, I would still be doing the same thing I'm doing, which is helping Hapeville.
First, thank you all for coming. Participating in running a city. I don't run the city. Council runs the city. The guy over there kind of leads us. But it's been very interesting. It's like having a big family. You might have a family, you got maybe 3 kids. One kid wants to live out at the lake, the other one wants to live downtown in a condo where all the lights are, and another one wants to have a little grass patch someplace where you can raise kids, and the city's the same way. Some people want to live in these big old brick houses over here in Northwood. Some people want to live in other places that have smaller homes, smaller lots. We need to work on helping all these people live where they want to live and leave them alone so that they can raise their kids or do whatever they want to do and protect them. The big thing we do is protect you from your neighbors. They have barking dogs, they have runoff that gets in your yard, so we try to help you with that through code enforcement. But I don't want to leave without, I was reading the last of my little thing that I started out with here, and I want to give a big shout out to the employees of the city of Hapeville. We made some changes several years ago in the way we manage things. We had what we call a committee structure where nobody could do anything unless they come ask one of us and said, okay, to dig that hole over there. So we changed that around, and the employees really stepped up. They took control of what they were doing. They offered suggestions. Nowadays they own their job, and we've given them. Well, we did give a very tiny pay raise here lately, but there has been no layoffs, no furloughs, no pay cuts, and they've done a fantastic job, and I want to be thankful that they're there. And I believe today that we are on the right track. We're on a great track. I think things are going to get better and better as time goes by. I'd love to work with you, work for you, try to keep the processes and the things going in the right direction, and hope to see you all on November the 5th. Thank you.
Scott.
Forgive me if I was a little eager.
That's okay.
I like to tell a story about my daddy, Robert Whitaker. For those of anyone who knew him, knew that he worked for Ford his whole life. He loved cars, he loved to travel, and he loved to share this with his 4 kids. When we were young in the 60s, many times after church, when he already had a captive audience, we were in the car, we would take off. He would take, we never knew where he was going. We'd ask, we'd whine. Where are we going, Dad? To see a man about a dog. We never believed it, and we called him on this for years until finally one day he went somewhere to see a man about a dog, and we brought a basset hound. But sometimes we'd end up in Dahlonega, panning for gold. He took us up in the north towards the mountains. We loved to travel. We ended up, we realize now later on that early on he was prepping us for the longer drives. So we ended up going to Florida, to Maine, to Canada. So the point was, we always got going somewhere good as long as we knew who the driver was. I'm Scott Whitaker. You're a candidate for councilman at large. I appreciate your vote.
One stand up with my knees, so I've saved it for last. I want to thank all of y'all for being here tonight. Over the last few hours, we've heard some wonderful ideas and great plans. I love the optimism of all of the people up on this table. What would set me apart from them, I think, is my depth of knowledge from 42 years in the financial services industry. It matters ultimately how you run your business. Your city is how you manage your finances. So I think that is where I can offer a lot of insight. I can also assure you that I am not afraid to say, I don't know. If I don't know what a CID is or an LCI, I'm not afraid to say I don't know. And I will not vote on an issue if I don't know what it is. And I won't vote on it until I understand all of the implications of the issue. I think that is very important. And I promise you that I will follow up with you if you ever ask me a question in regards to anything that the city does, whether it's about your propane tanks or your signs. I don't know that I can have a solution, but I will be in touch with someone and we will get something back to you. This is a wonderful city, and all the components of it need to excel in that communication aspect. You are taxpayers. You have a right to expect a response every time you contact the city, be it the council or the city employees. It will be my privilege and honor to serve as your council person from Ward 2. I'm the right person at the right time for the right reason, and I sure would appreciate your vote on November the 5th.
I just want to thank you guys again tonight for sitting here listening to us talk about the city and what we want to do for the city and for you. I'm here for you guys. You are my constituents. I need to hear from you. I would love for you to call me, send me an email, or hit me up on Facebook. This is something I can only talk for myself, but when you talk to me, I can talk for you. When I get up there on city council, I will talk for you. I have 3 things: progressing Hapeville forward, while also keeping that hometown feel. I also have perception, changing that perception of Hapeville that I've talked about tonight, and passion. I hope you can tell that I'm very passionate about this city, and I know you're very passionate too. And we need to spread this passion and show everybody in Atlanta and in Georgia how passionate and how amazing Hapeville is. I also want to talk about me being a special education teacher. Doing this, my students do not think the same as everybody else. I have to go out there and have to figure out the way these kids learn. I have to think outside the box because all the other education that they've had throughout the years has not worked. So I'm here to think outside the box so we can get better answers and more information to you guys, the citizens. All right, thank you.
First off, I'd like to thank everybody that's sitting up here for being positive and loving the city, because if there wasn't love in their heart for the city, they wouldn't be trying to do this job. I've been in Hapeville my whole life. I know where Hapeville's come from. I'd like to be a part of where it's going. I have 4 years of experience during probably one of the toughest economic times that we'll see, hopefully, coming up. I come from a background of people who've loved the city. My dad was a councilman for 2 terms. One of the things I've learned in the last 4 years is it's all about coming together and bringing people together on issues that gets things done. Now, I lead the music at the First Baptist Church. I have a youth choir. I have an adult choir, and getting those people to do the same thing 2 times in a row the same way, it's like chasing cats sometimes. I've been coaching kids for over 20 years, and if you've seen the diversity of the kids we get in Hapeville, some of them have their own mind as to what discipline is, or they don't know what discipline is. Our council gets in the back room. We might have a little undisciplined yan-yan at each other, but coming together, walking out there, and making a positive force and saying we are what is going to stand behind what we just made the decision of, is what keeps Hapeville a positive light in the South Fulton area. There's a lot of negative going on outside of our city borders, and we'd like to keep it positive for the next 4 years. And of course, I could always throw out that we want our own zip code, because that would definitely help us. And with Porsche coming in, we always thought that Jacoby got their own zip code for the Atlantic station, but they had a lot of big voices helping them. So maybe with Porsche coming into our neighborhood, we can get just the boundaries of the city of Hapeville, our own zip code, and that'll help everybody's insurance rates. So thank you for coming out tonight. We appreciate everything that you do, and thank you for being here.